All right. I was just streaming live and I got a phone call, and I think that's what messed up the stream. Everything froze for me, so I am going to just start back over. Um, so in this live stream, we're going to talk about the four worlds of the Kabbalah. This is not a subject that I'm like heavily versed on. So what I'm doing is I found some selections from some of the books that I reference quite a bit, and we'll go into the subject in those books. We'll read some of the sections. I have my laminated Tree of Life here with me, and as I was just going over in the, just a couple minutes ago before the live video went out, we were covering the four worlds. The world of archetypes, the world of, well, it's called the world of emanations, but it's the archetypal world, the world of creation, which is patterns, the world of formation, which is activity, and then the world of basically form, the world of substance. So you have these four Kabbalistic worlds, really. It's considered four trees sometimes. I know, as I was saying in the last video, there's systems where there's like infinite numbers of trees of life, so gets quite interesting. And then I already went over what the different, you got the element of fire, and then water, and then air, and then earth, of course. The four corresponding animals: the lion, the eagle, or the phoenix, as I often see it symbolized, the Aquarian man with air. I usually visualize a dragon as the element of air instead of the Aquarian man. And then the bull of earth, the Taurus energy. All right, I think I will start in Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic first. We'll read from this. Some of the notes concerning the four worlds. Another method of looking at the tree is called the method of the four worlds. Look at the diagram on the next page, showing one of the systems of understanding the four worlds. So that first world, the world of archetypes, is the upper triad. So you got Kether, Hokmah, and Bina there. The world of Bria, which is the world of creation or patterns, is going to occupy, looks like Hesed, Geburah, Tipareth, those three. Then you've got the world of air, which is Yetzirah, and that is Netzach, Kod, and Yesod. And then, of course, Asaya, the material world, is Malkuth. Dividing lines have been drawn between the triangles as previously described. Thus, each triangle and the single 10th Sephirah represents a, quote, world. So yeah, the Sephirothic tree, each Sephiroth, it's a roadmap of not only the external universe, but also our internal worlds as well. So these are all attributes which exist within and without. And it's kind of shaped like the strand of a DNA. So. The topmost triangle, composed of the first, second, and third Sephiroth, is known as Ha'olam Atzilut, which means the world of archetypes or emanations. It is the divine world wherein exists the thoughts of God. It is in this world that the aspects of the powers of God, as represented by the names of God, are said to exist. Interesting. So within this world, it's the aspects of the powers of God, as represented by the names of God, are said to exist. So interesting. The middle triangle, composed of the fourth, fifth, and sixth Sephiroth. So this is going down to the second world from the top. the world of creation, known as Ha-Olam Bria, which means the world of creation. It is not yet real in a physical sense. It is far more of the conscious mind. It is in this world that the archangels are said to exist. So that's kind of interesting. So the archangels are said to exist in the second world. Although they're obviously simultaneously occupying, various spaces, not just one plane of existence. Welcome in, welcome in. We're just talking about the four worlds of Kabbalah. But if you have any questions, you just want to shout out and say hey, that's welcome as well. The bottommost triangle is formed of the 7th, 8th, and 9th Sephiroth and is known as Ha-Olam Yetzirah, or the world of formation. It is considered by some to be equal to the astral plane, which is the basis for everything that exists in the physical universe. So this whole area, the third world, these three are said to consist of the astral plane. So I always thought it was just Yesod that was considered the astral plane. So I guess these three collectively, this level called Yetzirah, if I am pronouncing that correctly, considered to be equal to the astral plane, which is the basis for everything that exists in the physical universe. It is in this world that the various, quote, orders of angels are said to exist. Interesting. So the archangels were said to exist in Bria, the second level, and then this level consists of the various orders of angels. But of course we know there are Tree of Life archangels for each Sephiroth as well, so that gets kind of confusing there. Illusion of the Abyss. How are you, dude? You been doing okay? I haven't had any videos really pop up of yours lately. I kind of went to your channel and checked some stuff out a little bit. I don't know if that's the YouTube algorithm or what's going on. So glad to have you in here. Always a pleasure, brother. The 10th Sephiroth in this system, all by itself, forms, of course, that last world, the world of action, Saya, the world of form. It is the world wherein the four elements and hence the physical universe exists and wherein physical action can occur. But what good does this four-world system do? Let us assume that God wishes to create a universe. The first thing God would need to do is perceive the need for something. So here you can do kind of an as above, so below correspondence. You can kind of see these same ideas and concepts working out within each of us, on the macrocosmic level. God needs to perceive the need for something. Here, God is operating in the world of Absoluth, the first world, the world of archetypes. Next, God would see that a universe composed of air, earth, fire, water, and living things was necessary. Here, God would be operating in the world of Bria. Next, God would begin doing whatever was necessary to create the universe. Here, God would be operating in the world of Yetzirah, which is air, which corresponds to the intellect, which I guess that kind of makes sense because he's intellectually conceiving of how to create this world of form. Next, God would begin doing whatever, I already read that. Finally, God would put life and action into the formed parts of the universe and would be operating in the world of Asaya. At Zuluth, archetypes, Bria, archangels, Yetzirah, angels. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, they said that this level is like where the archangels reside, exactly what you're saying, and then Yetzirah is where the orders of angels reside. Which is, it's kind of confusing because if you study the system of angels, there's like the hierarchies of different angels. The archangels are actually considered like lower on that spectrum. I think like the seraphim are really high ranked, and the Ophanim, I think, are actually ranked above the archangels. So there's different systems of ranking these angels, and some of them seem to work with the other systems, and then some are kind of conflicting. So that, to me, that gets kind of confusing after a while. Glad you're doing well, brother. It's good to hear. Epissimus, what's up? How are you? Oh, yeah, class of angels. Yep. Yes, sir. So, yeah, any insights you have on, like, yeah, clarifying that or making that less confusing? Because to me, it is. But I try not to get, like, too caught up, you know? Because it's more important to just experience, I think, the energies of these different things rather than just always try to get caught up in the, like, the book smart or the intellect aspect of it. But generally, it goes archangel, then choir. Okay. Cool. All right, I gotta find out where we were. So I'm still reading from, I'm just reading the section on the four worlds of Kabbalah from Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig. The only complaint I really have against this book is I don't think it teaches the lesser invoking ritual, the pentagram. I think it only teaches the banishing, which is kind of weird because you should learn both. Damien Eccles, in both his books, he explains, he was like the first author who really clearly, distinctly described the difference between the two. And then in the Golden Dawn Brick book, it shows you invoking, but it's just like a really quick instruction on it. It doesn't really explain much in detail at all. But this, of course, is about practical magic. How does this information apply to us, and how can we use it on a practical level? The knowledge of the four worlds, that is. Let us say that you need something to hold your papers and notes when doing a ritual. You see a need and therefore are in the world of Absolute, is where you're functioning. Next, you begin to visualize it. It is made of wood, higher in the back than in the front, so that the papers are at a nice angle, and there's a ledge at the bottom of the front so that the papers do not slide off. A battery-powered light illuminates the papers. Here you are in the world of Bria as you create the stand in your mind. Now you go out and buy the wood, cut it to size, assemble the stand, and finish it with an attractive and appropriate paint job. Here you are in the world of formation, Yetzirah. Finally, you put it to use, and you are then operating in the world of Asaya. If you have ever desired anything but have not been able to bring it into your own world, then it is most likely that you have overlooked the importance of one of the four worlds. So that's kind of cool. So these four worlds or stages of creation are also alchemical steps in manifesting something. I see we have 6 people in here. Welcome in. We're covering just some notes on the four worlds of the Kabbalah from different sources, and any questions you might have as well are welcome too. Yeah, exactly. Experience beats theory. Damien has the better books. Yeah. This is how ideas form into being things. It does teach LIRP, but it is only mentioned that it is LBRP, but draw the pentagram from the spirit pentagram. Okay. But yeah, I think he definitely should have. Gone into much more detail, like Damien did. But it's still a great book. It's like one of the ones I reference, the most for people to pick up if they're interested in learning about this type of stuff. We will learn more about the process of bringing things into our lives, gray magic, and later lessons. As stated earlier, the Kabbalah has changed over time and has not been a static, unchanging system. There are other versions of the four worlds. One system holds that the divisions of the four worlds should show only the topmost Sephira Kether as being in the first world. Interesting. So yeah, I mean, as I've said before, there's different systems and ways of doing these things. Kind of just have to do what works with you, it seems like, or what works for you. The next two Sephiroth are in the second world. Sephiroth 4 through 9 make up the third world of Yetzirah. So that one's composed of a lot of different Sephiroth, and the fourth world is made up only of the final Sephiroth Malkuth. Another system holds that there is a full tree of life within each Sephiroth on the tree of life. So yeah, that's when you're really, you know, and some systems, yeah, they say there's just infinite numbers of trees. Thus, there would be 100 Sephiroth to deal with. You could have Kether and Kether, Hokmah and Kether, and up to 10 different Sephiroth in each Sephiroth. With this system, the worlds get quite complicated. Yet another system puts 4 trees of life on top of each other, with each tree representing a world. See the diagram on the next page. In this system, there are 40 Sephiroth. Finally, another system says that there is a full tree of life within each of the 40 Sephiroth, for a total of 400 Sephiroth. Although going into detail on the meaning of this last system is far too advanced and complicated for this course, you might wish to spend some time contemplating the different worlds and the various ideas of trees of life within the Sephiroth. So yeah, here's the one with it's actually 4 separate trees. That's the same as the one that's shown on this chart right here too, on the end. And then yeah, you have each of these letters representing a different aspect of creation. It's the Yod, which is that archetypal masculinity, and then you have archetypal feminine, and then this is physical masculine archetype, and then this is the physical feminine archetype, if I remember right. So you're getting all 4 of those as a composite, you know, with that sacred God name when you're using that. Okay, so that's the section about the 4 worlds from Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic. Now we're jumping into this Kabbalah for the Modern World. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. There it is, if you want to see it. All right, so this chapter is chapter 11 from the book. It's called The Tree. The first major class of manifested reality is the nominal or spiritual plane. This is the Shamayim or heaven, a plane of pure thought and the basis of the various kinds of phenomenal energies. The second class of manifested reality is the phenomenal plane of the objective realm. It is called Eretz or earth and represents the entire material plane. So this is kind of a different way of looking at it. Shamayim is composed of the first 3 worlds of the Kabbalists, Atziluth, Bria, and Yetzirah. Okay, so the Shamayim is the first 3 worlds. The first triad of the tree, Kether, Hokmah, and Binah, are known collectively as the Neshama, or world soul, a vehicle of self-realization where the experience of oneness with the Godhead is realized. So those first 3 Sephiroth, and I always see those as the most important on the tree, you know. Each Sephiroth is important, but those 3, that triad of archangels like Metatron, Raziel, and then Zafkael, that's a very powerful, imagery and symbolism, not symbolism, but archetypal forces to draw from. And I will often envision them as I'm ascending towards Kether when I'm doing my Kabbalistic cross. The Yod Hey Vow Hey formula applies to the court cards of tarot as well. King, Yod, Queen. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know all this stuff. It definitely like plays in and corresponds to the tarot for sure. It's all like one comprehensive system. It's beautiful. Prince is Vav, Princess Final Hey. Okay, cool. What ritual do you guys use when invoking a single element? Do you use Archangel, Angel, Ruler, and King or Queen of that element? I use the Supreme Pentagram ritual and then call the Archangel, Angel, Ruler, and King. Okay. Very interesting. I would recommend too, because the Supreme Pentagram's a much more powerful ritual, which you can definitely, that's actually one I haven't really worked with. I just haven't felt that it's the right time or necessary for me. But if you wanted to invoke a single element, yeah, you could, something else you could do, definitely listen to what Illusion has to say there, but you could probably also just do a lesser invoking ritual, the pentagram, and then invoke, one archangel in all directions, which ironically is what I did today. So I think depending on the element you want to work with, that's, the archangel that corresponds to that element is the one you're going to want to invoke. Kether furthermore corresponds to Yakaida, which is undifferentiated energy, pure thought, and is ascribed to the plane of Atziluth. Yep, so that first world. Now, I've always kind of explained the Ein, the AIN, which is that uppermost veil of the Empyrean heaven. It's infinite potentiality, yet unmanifested, is the way I've always seen it. So I believe the Ein Sof is where that begins to actually start to take place. You have all potential because it's the limitless all. But the Ein is where it's still feminine energy. It's like receiving. It's a receptacle. It's a vessel which holds all potentiality, but it's not yet released. It's not yet manifested. It's the pure cosmic womb, which is why it's called, in a sense, the void. But it's kind of misleading to call it quite a void because it contains within it all the potential. But it hasn't been like tampered with. I don't know if that's a really good explanation of Ein, but that's kind of the way that's kind of the perspective I've always come from when trying to perceive the Ein. Yeah, magnetism. Exactly. Melek, what's up, man? How are you? Glad to have you in here. Thank you for joining. Hokmah, the second sphere, corresponds to Shaya, which represents the self's will or potential of activity, which makes sense because the divine masculine, it's that outgoing energy. Binah, the third sphere, corresponds to Neshama itself. And if we go back, Neshama was the first triad of the tree, Kether, Hokmah, and Binah, known collectively as the Neshama or world soul, which is a vehicle of self-realization where the experience of oneness with the Godhead is realized. I think it's interesting they mentioned vehicle of self-realization because that's kind of where the whole like idea of the Merkabah comes in. And when you work with these energies and when you seal these, when you have these different energies set at the different compass points, you are in a sense starting to create your own Merkabah, your own vehicle for self-expression and self-realization. So I think there's something to that as well. So this Chaya, I'm sorry, we moved on to Binah. The third sphere corresponds to the Neshama itself, which is what we just described, and embodies the attributes of the self-soul and its capacities for action and realization. Chaya and Neshama belong to the plane of Bria. So Neshama is what we were just describing, and Shaya is the self's will or potential activity, which is connected with Hokmah. So I'm trying to get all these terms right. See, this is where the over-intellectual part kind of comes in, and it's like, maybe just let go and let the, you'll come to realize how these things operate just through self-reflection. Chaya and the Neshama belong to the plane of Bria, which is that second plane, as we were saying, world of emanations. I'm doing all right, brother. I'm doing all right. Literally initiating the Qliphothic version of Ayin. Wow. I'm proud of you, brother. That's the fact that you're actually doing the work, man. As I've always said before, I'm really proud of you. Nice. You study Enochian magic? That's actually something I'm quite ignorant to for the most part. Like, of course, I read about Enochian magic. When I come across it, and I've read some within the Golden Dawn stuff. I have some friends on YouTube that talk quite a bit about Enochian magic, but it's still something I need to do more research on. And I did start doing some more research into it. I started looking more into it, and I do want to do a video on it at some point. But I'd like to kind of familiarize myself with it more. And I'll probably do like a read through of various notes like I am with this subject, the four worlds of the Kabbalah. Specifically with Tiamat. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. I'd work with all of them to keep equilibrium, but if you need more motivation, for instance, you'd invoke fire in all directions, or if you want better subconscious control of mind, invoke water. I like that. Specifically with Tiamat. Yeah, Tiamat's like one of the most like primordial, because it comes from like either ancient Sumeria or even pre-Sumeria. So it's like one of those older deities. So you're really kind of connecting in with a much more primal energy there. Nice, the apocalypse initiations. But how the grades go, a neophyte does earth invocation for 6 to 9 months, then air, then water, then fire. That makes sense. Working your way up the worlds. You're welcome, Malik. You're welcome. Nice. The Enochian calls go hand in hand with the elements, then sub-elementals. Illusion, I'm glad I've got you in here, brother. Like, you are definitely like helping me kind of like answer some questions and stuff, and that is freaking cool. I thank you for that. I'm just gonna keep rambling on here. See what this book has to say about these four worlds of the Kabbalah, and then we'll get to the next book. 28 minutes in. Nice. Spheres 4 through 9 belong to the plane of Yetzirah and are divided into the upper and lower ruachs, or soul categories. Hesed, the fourth sphere, Geburah, the fifth sphere, and Tipareth compose the upper ruach, the vehicle of rational, moral, and intuitive faculties. Hesed represents the unity of all things via synthesis. Geburah represents the differentiation of all things via analysis. I like they use the word analysis there. Yeah, because Hesed's kind of that ultimate like reconciling force where everything like merges together, and if you have too much of that, everything just kind of melts together in a melting pot of experience, and then you're not having the beauty of the separation, which comes from the, what do they say, the examining energies, the analysis of Geburah. So the Geburah is the separating factor, but both sides are very important for the creation process in general. I feel like that would bring a strong foundation. It does. That's why it's the earth banishing, invoking that everyone is taught when beginning the LBRP, LIRP. Melik says, it's so weird because at least from the capacity that I am at, the Qliphoth is touching the surface for me, and the trees as a whole is a foundation for deeper initiations from my perspective. That's awesome. I like that, brother. Moving on to Tiphareth, which corresponds to the self's faculty of, quote, seeing, is the principle which balances all opposing forces. Tiphareth, or Tiphareth, however you say it, of course, is the heart of the tree of life. It's the very center. The lower Ruach is composed of Netzach, the 7th sphere, Hod, the 8th sphere, and Yesod, the 9th sphere, is the vehicle of the intellectual and artistic faculties. So this lower Ruach. Netzach represents the harmonious interrelations of forms. And I think Netzach, Damien says that's like the realm of the Fae as well. I always thought that was an interesting way to look at it. I can definitely get kind of that fairy type Fae energy from Netzach. Actually, speaking of which, look at this video. It's like a magical forest. That's what I envision as kind of like Netzach type energy. It's almost like a feminine type energy, but it's on the masculine pillar, but that kind of plays into the whole secret of the masculine lies within the feminine and the feminine lies within the masculine. So each pillar is kind of interplaying into the other pillar too. So it's all a super synthesized system. So Hod represents, Hod's all about the intellect, represents the segregation of the outer forms. That's a weird way of putting it. The segregation of the outer forms. And Yesod represents the sphere of awareness affecting duality. Aretz corresponds to the plane of Asaya, or 4th world of the Kabbalists, and to Malkut, 10th sphere. This plane is divided into the Nefesh, which is the electromagnetic vehicle of physical vitality, the emotions and sensations, and the Guph, G-U-P-H, which is the gross physical body. Make sure we're getting thumbs up in here too, guys. Definitely appreciate it. That's a weird word. Guff? Never heard of that, I don't think. And then Nefesh is the electromagnetic vehicle of physical vitality, the emotions and sensations. So you have that level of physical reality, and then this Guff, which is the gross physical body. All the various differentiations and manifestations that take place in Shamayim through the progressive actions of the first 3 worlds are eventually materialized in Eretz, the earth, and the 4th and last world of Asaya. This world coincides with the sphere of Malkuth, which is divided into the Nefesh and the Guf. As we have seen, the Guff is identified with the material body. The Nefesh, on the other hand, is the vehicle through which we experience emotions and sensations. So we have our physical body, and then there's another vehicle called the Nefesh, which is this electromagnetic vehicle of vitality. That's why it's important to pay attention to like your body's functions and are you wasting your energy? Are you being able to conserve your energy? Things of this nature. This is a subtler body organized on a subatomic region of electromagnetic forces whose energy animates the baser. So it is what moves the baser, quote, baser physical body. One may think of the Nefesh as the astral body or the vehicle of perception and awareness. The lower Ruach is motivated through sensual and emotional attachments. Its reactions and relations to morality are affected and influenced by external stimuli and conditioning. This is an interesting line. As much as 95% of the average person's mental activities are conditioned reflexes. What? 95% of the average person's mental activities are conditioned reflexes, which explains the irrational and illogical behavior of many people. you know, you really don't start to realize how programmed your mind is until you start experimenting with different states of awareness, until you start meditating, and then you really realize how robotic a lot of your movements are. And it kind of makes you feel awkward because you're like, oh, before you were just operating from unconsciously understanding that, but now you're like awake and aware, and you're like, oh, I feel weird because I'm trying to not be robotic anymore, and I'm so conscious of the fact that, you know, I was programmed previously. So then that's where we kind of have to, you know, do a little bit of the reprogramming to a degree. I'm gonna go back and read some of this real quick. I'm going to read these comments, that way people can kind of appreciate it if they end up watching this video later on. But a pessimist says, but I've already done LBRP, Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram, and Middle Pillar for almost 2 years, but I feel like I need to up my game now. Yeah, those were the practices that I was doing myself as well. I didn't do the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram for very long. I did do it for a while, and I feel like I did it really effectively, but I had some weird things start to happen to me after I started doing that. They were things which actually really needed to come to the surface, though. So it actually brought up some dark stuff. It really did. But yeah, those are the same exercises that I was doing. See, right now I'm actually going back to basics because I'm really at a point in my life right now where I don't mean to like go on about myself here, but I'm at a point where I'm really having to rebuild everything. So I'm literally starting from scratch again. So I'm going back to basics and the beginnings and really working on, I'm working on simple things like visualization and stuff right now. I'm trying to visualize those pentagrams as much as I can in my mind, and trying to, you know, just stay in a state of relaxation with a calm nervous system, you know, as long as possible, and just be able to sit there in silence and solitude. Really just going back to basics for me. And then I'm going to build myself back up from there. But I'm really just taking it one step at a time. I don't think there's any really rush to this sort of work. I think that no matter what, you know, source is with us, we are source. This is where we're supposed to be on our journey. And I feel that I'm not separate from that source like that. It's always with me now, you know. And I think that probably is the same for any of you who are here in this chat. Like you're just so guided and so divinely protected on this path in certain ways that the fact that you care, you have that 8th Hermetic principle of care and are doing this work, that sets you apart from the rest of the flock, you know, in my opinion, in a positive way. And of course, invoking versions of those rituals too. Yeah, I never did the invoking ritual of the lesser invoking ritual of the hexagram. I always did banishing rituals of the hexagram. I assume it would just be the same as an invoking pentagram, but with the hexagrams instead. A pessimist start doing the bornless and the supreme invoking ritual of the pentagram. Yeah, that's what I thought was maybe the next step, was that supreme pentagram every day. Illusion of the Abyss says, I do. A pessimist says, I'll try that, thanks. Illusion of the Abyss. Remember, the goal is knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel. A pessimist says, yes. Yeah, that's what all this like prerequisite work is actually for. To me personally, I have not had knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel, but I have caught glimpses of it. I've caught like some beautiful glimpses of, you know, my own holy guardian angel. I think that's about as far as I've gotten because I haven't done those advanced workings yet. If you guys are interested, I do have a video specifically on the subject of the holy guardian angel. The supreme ritual brings spirit into the ritual, and the bornless, headless ritual calls on the HGA. Do those every day or 3 times a week for 6 months. It's a long time. You'll get there, man. 3 times a week. Does it matter which one I do first? Pessimist says that, and then says, same here. Pessimist says, I couldn't sleep first, and I was very restless when I started the lesser hexagram ritual. Keep doing your your regular daily routine, Illusion says, but add the supreme followed by the bornless also. Illusion says we are always neophytes, brother. That's right. Yep, we're always just beginners. And I think it's so funny because once you master it and once you've like attained what you think is like the end of the journey, then you're just the runt. You're just the grunt, or the beginner on the next level. So somewhere along the line, you're always going to be the beginner. And I think there's a lot of like humility that comes from that. And it keeps the inner child alive. It keeps you curious. It's not just, you don't, that's something that can happen with this occult stuff is you just get so saturated with knowledge. You're like, man, I just feel like I've absorbed it all and I've read it all. And like, just what else is there to experience? And that's kind of when you're, it's kind of going the wrong way. So you have to keep that wonder open with life. You have to keep that open curiosity. Illusion of the Abyss said he went back to basics last couple months. Invoking is so important. There's never a goal line. Do you guys practice regular meditation also? Yes, it keeps you young and full of joy. I did really good meditation yesterday. I thought I did a little bit of meditation today, but I was also dealing with some pains myself. I had an inguinal hernia surgery. Like it's been like 6 or 7 years now. It's been a while, but that ever since that operation, there's certain days where I just have chronic muscle tightness, like pelvic muscle tightness, and it can be really infuriating and annoying and aggravating to deal with. So I did some energy work real quick, and then I pretty much jumped on this live chat. And ever since I've started this live chat, my body's actually been at much more peace. So I'm sure that's a part of you guys being in this chat as well. So, but yes, I do try to meditate as often as I can, because I always find that when I do it, I'm like, well, why would I have thought of not doing this? Because I pretty much always feel better afterwards anytime I meditate. So it reminds me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I do this, and especially if I have a really good like invocation or invoking session where I'm doing like the lesser invoking ritual, the pentagram, and I call on Raphael, and I'll feel that healing energy with me like throughout the whole day, so it's kind of this, that's why I work more with the positive, like a lot more of the positive forces or the angelic energies. As of late, they've just kind of helped me through my healing process. So, but I think a lot of the darker energies, can be really helpful for, overcoming certain things and teaching you. So it's important to learn from both the light and the dark, I think, at the end of the day. Yoga, the 5 Tibetan rites of rejuvenation. Meditation and yoga are the foundation for energy accumulation for our rites. Absolutely. And everyone equates yoga to just like the stretching and stuff, but yoga really has many, many forms. It's yoga means union, if I'm not mistaken. And yoga is just there's many different kinds of meditations which are like yoga. I do some yoga stretching. Like a lot of the times I'll just do what feels natural to me. Like if I feel the need to just stretch out my body and do so, I will, because that's just my body and that's just my intuition kicking in and saying, hey, you need to like loosen up some energy so you can get some circulation and stuff going on. For my pelvic muscles, I do what's called gentle Pilates, not meditation, yoga. Gentle Pilates yoga is really good if you have like chronic, any kind of like pelvic floor muscle like stuff going on. It's perfect for that. Okay, I'm gonna try to get back to this book, and I might actually just try to skim through it real quick and see if there's anything like we really, really need to hit on while we're here, because I feel like we've covered a lot of this information pretty well on the four worlds. Actually, I'm going to keep reading from this because I'm seeing some interesting stuff towards the end. So as much as, this was interesting, as much as 95% of the average person's mental activities are conditioned reflexes, which explains the irrational and illogical behavior of many people. This falls within the realm of yesod, which corresponds to indiscriminate imitation and automatic thought reflexes. That would make a lot of sense. Yesod, you know, corresponding to like the sexual organs and stuff. Traditional values and customs are all part of Yesod's conditioned reflexes. Hod, on the other hand, tends to segregate things on the basis of their outer form. So it's that logical, you know, intellectual. This includes race, religion, sex, and other material considerations. In many ways, Hod is responsible for the fragmentation of the various areas of knowledge into artificial components. And I mean, that's part of what comes from the tree of severity, or I'm sorry, the pillar of severity, or in Freemasonry, it's Boaz. It's the dark pillar, because you have Hod, which is that fragmenting part. Then you have Geburah above that on the pillar, which is the destructive component. And then at the top of it, you have the Saturn, the Saturnian energy. Netzach corresponds to the harmonizing of forms and to the emotional nature of man. On their positive aspects, Yesod represents imagination, Hod represents intelligence, and Netzach represents feelings and sensations. So a lot of emotion comes from Netzach. But the true nature of Netzach it's called victory for a reason. It's not called emotions. It's because it is the emotions which they've been truly processed, and they've truly been, matured to a point where it becomes victory. And then the same with Hod. Hod isn't just called intellect on the Tree of Life, it's called splendor or glory, and that would be the true reflective nature of the alchemized intellect. So it's being reflected from a more exalted state, if you will, as that Sephiroth on the tree. The upper Ruach acts out of reason and logic. The individual who functions on this level is motivated by his insight into life's individuality, as well as by its essential unity with the all, so it's important to have that balance of both. The initiation into the upper Ruach has been called the rending of the veil Parakith, which is the external aspect of things, and I think I've got that on my chart here. Yeah, there's the veil of Parakith right there, right underneath. It's Parth. We were just talking about these two spheres right here. These initiates are more concerned with the inner significance of things and with spiritual values than with material considerations. The emotions exemplified by Hesed are devoid of selfish interests and are motivated by pure love. Geburah, on the other hand, is intellect free from discrimination. That is why it is pure judgment. Interesting. To Parth, the harmonious interaction of Hesed and Geburah is a symbol of the unity of all things. Yeah, I've had to deal with a lot of that Geburah type energy, honestly, the past couple years. There have just been certain things that they just cross that boundary line for me, So it's like that Geburah force has to come in. It has to come in and it has to do its balancing thing. And if you try to fight that or resist it or reject it, good luck. The high initiates of the upper Ruach are the prophets and sages of the world who are able to perceive the knowledge of the universe and are no longer interested in material things. So that's got to be your secret chiefs, your Great White Brotherhood, the hidden masters, Blavatsky, all these sorts of things. The secret chiefs are more golden. That's a Golden Dawn idea. When they reach this point, they are ready for the ultimate initiation, that of the crossing of the abyss. When they attain to the understanding of the sphere of Binah and reach the deconditioning of the soul. So yeah, there's lots of people who claim to have quote unquote crossed the abyss, but it's really hard to know whether they've had like a microcosmic crossing of the abyss or if they've literally crossed like this abyss of the actual tree of life. I think most of those kinds of people, you would probably never even know who they were. Like, I feel like they would just kind of keep their existence almost secret or hidden. Like you wouldn't see them on like YouTube or something like that. That would be my guess anyway, but I could be wrong. So this is the level of self-realization, the nirvana of the Vedantas. Now, there are times where I've definitely felt a connection with that like level of you know, basically nirvana that they're explaining here, but it's only like temporary until we become, you know, permanent masters of those planes of existence, and then we'll just be experiencing that all the time. Like, but we're still, you know, we're still here in the physical world, but I think we're supposed to be here in the physical world. We're not supposed to like bypass these experiences. So let me go back and read some of these things. I've heard good things about those Tibetan rites, Episimus says. I'm not pronouncing that right, am I? Ipsissimus, is that how you say it? They were on DMK's book. Ipsissimus, that's what it looks like. I do them every day, says Illusion of the Abyss. Episimus says, I should too. Now I've just added a regular meditation to my practice for about 6 months. It's so freaky how you start to see how your mind wanders totally away from present moment if you don't focus. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Master your mind, master your emotions for victory and splendor. Yes, adding to the Netzach and Hod, thank you. How about invoking planets when that happens? Question mark, when that happens in this path. Illusion says, I invoke the planet of the day every day using the greater ritual of the hexagram. Very interesting. Ipsissimus, I've thought doing that too. Maybe I'll do some experimentation. Okay, thank you. We got 4 people in here and we have 4 thumbs up. So thank you very much. We're talking about the 4 worlds of the Kabbalah, and I'm going to continue reading. There's a couple pages left in the 4 worlds section in this book, Kabbalah for the Modern World. Part of the Kabbalistic self-realization is the identification with the Ein Sof, which is equated with the self. This self is not the conscious part of the personality, the familiar everyday ego, but a divine spark of the infinite light, full of infinite potential and the power of being. The self emanated from the Ein Sof is man's personal God and the true essence of his being. So really the God which all these people are trying to like worship externally is in fact man's personal God. It's the self emanated from the Ein Sof, the limitless all, which we were talking about earlier, is man's personal God and the true essence of his being. That's that connection we've always felt deep within our soul. We've always known there's something more, but that something more is us. It's the true essence of our being. When we reach within for strength and fortitude, it is to the self to whom we are appealing. For the self is our direct link with the Godhead. So if you're begging the angels, if you're begging God, you're really just begging yourself. Like, that's what's so funny about it all. It is to the self to whom we pray. It is the self whom we invoke and to whom we direct our thoughts in times of need. Every Kabbalist rite is directed to this inner self and a search for unification with God. That is why, in order to achieve this synthesis, the first Kabbalist act must be an act of surrender to the divine will and the acceptance of all the changes it may demand in our lives. regardless of how they may affect our human expectations. So it's that letting go, that being more receptive, feminine type energy. Only then can we dare to attempt to make changes of our own, secure in the knowledge that our changes are also part of the divine plan. Indeed, Malkuth is in Kether, and Kether in Malkuth. Yep, as above, so below. The most immutable of the universal laws is the law of change. Everything is in constant motion, and motion is change. Now, the universe has called me to make changes as I've gone through in my own personal journey, and I often see people who they really need to make a change in their lives, and I'm not exempt from this either. There's things I know that I should probably completely let go of that I still hold on to myself. But I definitely see it in other people's lives too, where they're doing it to like a greater degree, like where it's really like, ooh, like you really like probably should let go of that thing because, and some of those people, because they're really actually not allowing you to manifest. I'll have people complain to me, like they'll be like, why am I not like manifesting the things that I want? And then I look at the people that they're around, I look at the things they're still doing, and I'm like, to me, it's literally there's no doubt like as to why, there's no question as to why things are not working out for you. Like it's very obvious to me, but that person just, they may not see it. So it is what it is. So, but you have to be willing to let go, as they're talking about here. Everything is in constant motion and change, and motion is change. So moving is change. As we're moving through our everyday lives, we are, changing, hopefully for the better. I like to think that the universe is evolving, so things are working out the way that they need to. I think that aspect of ourselves, the Ein Sof, as we were discussing earlier, understands that. Everything is in constant, from the motion of the atomic particles to the motion of the tides, all that is must constantly be changing for creation to even continue. That is why life must give way to death, and death must be reborn again. How many deaths and rebirths can we undergo in one lifetime, though? That seems to be the question sometimes. This is a very important consideration in the practical Kabbalah. That is why one must build in the higher worlds what one wishes to realize in the world of matter. Everything that exists in the material world first began as a seed thought. Thought, therefore, is the matrix of all created things. I don't think that this just works one way, though. I don't think it just works upward, downwards, though. I think it's a constant like cycle of the worlds below affecting that which is above, and the higher worlds bringing influences down as well. But as Frater Xavier says in Mind and Magic, he says the higher laws will always trump the lower laws, though, at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean that there's this interrelationship or this upwards and downwards movement of physical and the higher spiritual realms too, often said to be symbolically represented by Archangel Sandalphon and Archangel Metatron working together in a synthesis in that sort of way. Everything that exists in the material world first began as a seed thought. Thought, therefore, is the matrix of all created things, which makes sense because they say that the tree of life itself is more of the matrix, which is overlaid or superimposed upon the tree of death. It's like the flower rising up from the dirt. So thought itself is the matrix of all created things. The first and most vital of all the all the works in the tree is that of self-evaluation and self-understanding. This is best accomplished through meditation on the sphere of Tipareth, the equilibrating principle between the synthesis of Hesed and the analysis of Geburah. A simple ritual for this purpose will be given in chapter 14. I'm gonna see if there's anything else I really need from this chapter. Let's go ahead and read this because this is interesting. As I already mentioned in part 1, the tree has a mirror image where the forces of the Qliphoth are gathered, or Qliphoth. There's so many different ways I've heard it pronounced. These shells are the depositories of every negative or destructive action. So they accumulate through all of this destructive action and are forever lurking in the background of all magical rituals. Interesting. Any mistake or miscalculation on the part of the Kabbalist results in the outpouring of negative energies, which often nullify any protective devices used in the preparation of the ritual. The Qliphothic forces are waiting to pounce, quote, pounce on the helpless magician who commits an error, and the results of such careless actions can be sometimes terrifying. This is true of any ritual, regardless of how simple or pure in intention it may be. For this reason, it is very important to plan each ceremony with the greatest of care, paying special attention to such things as correspondences, planetary hours, cardinal points, and lunar cycles. Starts to talk a little bit about dark magic here and using things for negative purposes. Can be very dangerous for the would-be Kabbalist, particularly if a mistake is made. As I mentioned earlier, even simple and positive rituals can result in disaster if an error is made. A negative ritual badly conducted can result in tragedy and physical death. Kabbalistic rites are generally conducted in the sphere of Bria, where the seed of formation first comes into being. All the things visualized in this sphere through proper meditation will be manifested in the material world if the ritual is done correctly. The sphere of Bria uses the Queen's scale of colors as given in Table 4. Okay. So Bria is that second world, the world of patterns or the world of creation. So it makes sense that you're doing your... But yeah, the Qliphoth it's a whole like complex subject in and of itself, and it's not a very simple one. So some people will have the kind of the viewpoint that they'll demonize every single aspect of it and say that it's all just destructive and it's basically trash and to stay away from it. But I feel like if you're somebody who's really wanting to understand the deeper components of Kabbalah and the trees, because both trees are important, you're going to have to study the dark tree at some point. So, but like consciously working or initiating through the dark tree is a whole thing in and of itself. So it's can be very it's a very difficult undertaking. Melek, which was on here earlier, he's going through that process himself. So guys like him, Universal Mastery, those are guys who are going to be much more well versed in that type of information. Going back and reading some of these comments. Illusion of the Abyss. An ipsissimus is one that has crossed the abyss. It's Latin for one who knows themselves. Nice. Yeah, it's the title that corresponds with Kether. I know I'm not an actual ipsissimus, but it's a cool nickname. You're still linking into that energy by naming yourself that. So that's pretty cool. It's an energetic link that's being formed. So that's, I think, in your name right there, that's the goal of your journey, right? We're all an ipsissimus and neophyte. I like that. I like that illusion. I think that really plays into the fact that we are the fool and the magician at the same time in tarot. So like we're the beginners, but we're also the experts. We're also God as well. So it's all simultaneous, you know. We are the fool and the magician. We are the fool and the universe, however you want to look at it. Malkuth is in Kether, and Kether is Malkuth. Read that earlier. Ipsissimus, given the purple heart. Illusion of the Abyss. You're doing so great, Occult. Keep this up, man. You're one of the only real ones. Thank you, brother. That means a lot, dude. I think there's a lot of good teachers out there. I really do. I really do. But there are a lot of spiritual channels which kind of have a layer of superficiality to them as well. But I study all kinds of different channels. I study like there's some like more new age people I really kind of like resonate with their stuff. More like positively oriented channels and stuff. So there's a lot to learn out there, and there's a lot of valuable teachers. So I'm just happy to be here and share kind of what I do know, a little bit. Aaron Elizabeth, how are you? Hello, everyone. I love you and hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. Thank you very much. You as well. Thank you for that. The Illusion of the Abyss gives a green heart there. Gotta love that heart chakra heart. Does Golden Dawn rituals cause Kundalini to awake? I think there's all kinds of rituals which can cause the Kundalini to awaken, and same with like substances and stuff. Like, I know there's all this craze about like psychedelics and stuff nowadays. Like, it's all about that, especially when you get into like certain music scenes and stuff. But I think there's a lot of danger in it because if not properly understood, it activates all kinds of stuff. You can have like premature Kundalini awakenings. You start to activate like certain centers of energy, which are really just, you're really opening yourself up. As Ra says in the Law of One, he says you're basically you're basically an open portal at that point. It can create like energetic openings and stuff. It's really weird. Not saying that it's all a bad thing. You just got to be really conscious of these things. Ipsissimus says, Aaron Elizabeth, same, right back at you. Aaron says, thank you. Oh, I thought so. Matt B, missed you, brother. Glad I found you again. What's up, Matt? Welcome in. Illusion is right. We aren't learning, but we are remembering. So the last shall be first and the first last, for many be called but few chosen. Whoa, that's weird, dude. I was just reading that Bible verse, like not only today, but the past couple days, because it has to do with some of the research I've been doing. I'm actually working on my, I should have a new chapter on the Patreon, hopefully here in the next, maybe if not in the next few days, hopefully within the next week, because I'm finalizing the next chapter, finally. I've done mushrooms for 15 years every autumn. It's therapeutic for me. Yeah, I think it can be really good to have those experiences like every now and again, for real. Kind of have that release, Fell off the path a bit, but completely getting back. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Matt. No, I know a guy who he microdoses on mushrooms like every single day. Dude's in great health, great shape. Like he gets outside. He lives out in the country, so he gets outdoors all the time. And he works out. So like, if that works for you, that's awesome. More power to you. Yeah, every 6 months. That does seem like a good rate to probably do that for sure. Just kind of help plunge out the toilet, symbolically speaking, of course. Overusing is the path to the Qliphoth. Yeah, I've noticed like a correlation between overuse of drugs and like the Qliphoth. Like, it opens you up to those energies, like not in the sense that like you're learning them or mastering them, but like more in the sense like they can just kind of take over and take control. It's that whole like opening up of portals. Yep, a few times a year. And I think you have to be in just the right environment too. Like, I was part of a music scene for a while, and it's like they use all those things as party things. They don't use those as like sacred. They don't use them as sacred tools. Like, they're just living a lifestyle that I really can't agree with. That's why I kind of had to remove myself from a lot of the like music type people that I used to be associated with, because they don't want to change. They don't want to take their spirituality seriously. it's a lot of woke people out there that are like, oh yeah, like higher consciousness, man. Like, yeah, I'm gonna keep a high vibration and never be sad, never be upset. Like, and they're so controlled by demons. Like, and it's not a bad thing, like that they are. It's the demons are probably trying to show them like where they're just bullshitting themselves, you know? So that's kind of like my take on it a little bit. Yeah, dude, plunge the toilet. Interesting, Qliphoth and addictions. Definitely right environment, and I do it like a ceremony every time. That's awesome. Yep. Okay, I think I read everything I needed to in this chapter. All right. I've got 2 more books that have notes on the 4 worlds of Kabbalah. I could either read through this or this. You guys probably know those 2 books. Or we could just do discussion the rest of the time. We've been going for, looks like about an hour and a little bit over an hour and 10 minutes now. So I don't know how long I'm going to do this live stream. Probably not that much longer. I haven't eaten anything yet today, but I also haven't felt drawn to really eat. I'll do that a lot of the times. I'll just kind of, I'll almost just kind of fast, like in the first half of the day. Love and light people are ridiculous. Existence is sorrow. Yeah, that's kind of along the lines of what it's kind of along the lines of like the Buddha. He says like that to desire is to, desiring and like grasping for is like the ultimate sorrow. It's like you're always looking, you know, outside of yourself. So yes, to be here and to know existence is to know sorrow. That's the part of life that can break us open. Really is what makes us human, is the ability to feel and to feel pain and sorrow and loss. I felt so much of that the past 6 months for me personally have been the 6th hardest of my life. You know, I'm not really gonna get into all that now, but I lost my dad, you know, about 4 months back. Yeah, it's been about four months or so. And then just everything else going on in my personal life. So, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, this is all teaching me and pushing me towards my true self. And it's allowing the energies which need to move into my life to move in. And that which was holding me back and which was stagnating, you know, can move onwards. So we were talking about change is the only constant. It's even mentioned in Tom Sawyer, if anybody listens to Rush. I love Rush. Like that's the first band I really started doing drum covers of, and still one of my favorites to this day. I would love to play drums in a Rush cover band. It's really hard to find people that can play that stuff, though. Aaron says, your energy is so bright and kind. Thank you. Thank you. I can imagine yours is as well. I can feel that just from your comments alone. The illusion of the abyss. Learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable environment we live in is what we do these rites for. Yep. It got to the point though where I was doing those protective not spells, but you know, my practices. I was doing my daily practices to kind of protect me, or to feel like I had to constantly like push energies away and like cleanse my space. And it would suck because I would do those practices. I would honestly like, I would ritualistically and energetically like really calm the energy of the home. And then all these people, all this energy would come in, and it wouldn't necessarily be people that I would want over, you know, per se. They would just basically, excuse my French, but they would fuck with all the like pure energy and intentions that I had just set. So It's not that they can really destroy that at the end of the day, but it would be annoying that that would continue to manifest. So it's like there were certain boundaries and stuff that were not respected. And there's only a point where your practices, and you can only like try to banish or invoke things for so long to try and fix what's around you. Sometimes you just have to make a decision, and you have to get out of a toxic situation. Don't try to magic your way out of it all the time. Like sometimes you just have to take real physical actions, real life actions. Fasting is really awesome. It's the first noble truth. If you try to avoid suffering, it only brings more of it. Yeah, it's kind of weird how that works, isn't it? You lost your dad? Man, I'm sorry. Transmute the energies that are toxic or painful, and that is our superpower. Exactly. Learning to be more magnetic with these experiences and these energies. Learn to pull the energy in rather than to always push it away or banish it. Rather alchemically transmute these energies that are toxic or painful and use it as strength in your true will. I think that's what a lot of musicians do, like especially famous artists. I think they use some of the worst traumas that have ever been experienced. And we heard about, like, look at what happened to Justin Bieber and stuff with this whole recent outcoming of like the P. Diddy scandal and shit. It's really gross. Some of the stuff I've heard, I haven't looked deep into it yet because I'm just like kind of grossed out by it all. But look what he went through, that pain and that trauma and stuff. It's that some of these artists, they go through in the corrupt, world of that stuff. They use it in their music though. Like they're able to use that pain and suffering to create beautiful masterpieces of work, of art. I thank God for it all, though. I do too, man. Like when I say my prayers, to Almighty Source, and the Creator of all things, the origin point, the parent of all the cosmos. It's like I'm thankful for all the experiences that I've had, regardless of how painful or how hurt, how much of hurting experiences they may have been. Rush is awesome. Fuck yeah, they are. I have a free will cover on here too, drum cover if you guys are interested. Your energy really is bright and kind. I second that. Well, thank you. I don't know if you're talking to me or Erin there. She's definitely bringing some bright energy to the conversation. So I thank all of us for being here. How about that? Magic is just the tool. That's right. A real magi is an artist of some type. Exactly. I like that. Because the magic really becomes expressed through the art. And like, look at famous musicians. Look at how many people they affect. Like how many lives are changed. How many songs have affected your life in a positive way? Like they are the magicians who continue to bring that current through all those lives, even though they're not around anymore. So it's like true service. It's really, really cool. Check out my cover. Yes, please do. If any of you want to check out any of the music that I do, I have a playlist entitled Music, which will have all of my more recent type stuff. I haven't been as busy with, music as of late. I've just been super busy with like being a dad and stuff, which is the greatest experience ever. It's the greatest initiation of all is parenthood, I think. The greatest and the toughest. But I have all of my newer music stuff in a playlist on this channel entitled Music. And then if you go to the bottom of my homepage, on the Occult Perspectives homepage, you will see my old channel, which is Drummer Boy Smith. Drummer Boy Smith 2010, and that's like all my older covers. So I have quite a bit of music on YouTube. I used to have a lot of music on Facebook, but my old Facebook got hacked, so it's all gone. I have made a new Facebook. It's pretty new. I only have like 140 friends on there or something. Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to find me on there or not, if any of you would try to add me or something. Because Tyler Smith, that's such a common name. You might have to search in like London, Ohio or something like that, and then you might be able to find me on Facebook. I am going through that, man. It's mind-blowing how much Mozart and the other great classical musicians used esoterica and occult to write music. Exactly. It is pretty nuts once you start to really, once you start to realize all that. So I think I'm actually going to, I'm going to wait before I get into this chapter in The Secret Teachings of All Ages. You can look up the chapter yourself if you want. It's called Fundamentals of Kabbalistic Cosmogony. And you can actually get this book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. It should be free on sacredtexts.com. Sacred Texts. Texts. That's a hard word to say. Texts. Because that's going to take a whole video in and of itself to kind of dive into that chapter. That's quite a bit right there. Let me see how much he goes into the four worlds here. Yeah, there's still quite a bit of information to read in this too. So I might have to make a separate video. Maybe I'll even do another live video. If not today, maybe at some future point. And we'll discuss the four trees in more detail. Because that's a lot more stuff to cover. And my voice is starting to get a little bit tired, and I have not eaten yet today, so I probably will go and do that here soon. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. Oh my gosh. I've been sitting on the ground in an Indian style position for quite a while. Didn't realize how sore I was there. Okay, going back. It's mind-blowing. Okay, I already read that. Alchemy of the Soul. Aaron Elizabeth, I am so glad it showed me your video. I subscribed. I have a channel too. My mission has been so difficult, but it's amazing now to know who I am from the past. Life is beautiful now. Thank you for that. Because that's something I'm really struggling with myself, is not looking at my past and like being ashamed of myself, because that's been a thing I've done a lot lately. Is I've really kicked myself for all of this. I'm like, why did I make this mistake? It's like I just beat myself up because I feel like I should have known better. And to me, it feels like a waste of time in a lot of ways. But I know at the end of the day, the universe had me experience that for a reason, so I could actually learn through the pain more who I am really. Who am I really? Like, not just who am I pretending to be? Am I putting on a false mask to be, not truly happy around a lot of people? I was kind of doing that for a while. So yeah, thank you for that. I am definitely going to check out your channel. I'm assuming it's called Aaron Elizabeth. I'm gonna have to write that down somewhere. Do I have a pen somewhere? That's the question. Oh, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna write it down. I think I can remember that. It's not too hard to remember. Do the four worlds correspond to our energy bodies? I would assume so. I think the four worlds corresponds to the same way that the tree of life corresponds, like, to the body. Like Yesod being like the generative system, or like the reproductive organs. In the four worlds system, hold on. In the four world system, that corresponds to, I took my marker out, lost the spot. So that, according to this system, there's different systems now. Remember, that's where it gets confusing. But this system, it's in the world of Yetzirah. There's Yesod in the Yetzirah, so it's the third world. Or I'm sorry, the third world if you're working your way down, the second world if you're working your way up. Yetzirah, world of formation, associated with the element of air and the sense of smell and its activity. So it's the one right before the world of formation at the bottom, quote unquote bottom. Saya is your physical, right? Yetzirah is your logical mind. Bria is your emotions and aura. Atziluth is the soul and collective unconscious. I like that. Thank you, Illusion of the Abyss. Bria and Yetzirah is the subconscious. We'll pull it up. Cool. Thank you. I think... Okay. Yeah, let me actually go get a pen so I can write down your channel. Because I think if I try to exit this screen and then like write a note or anything, I think it might end this chat. So just to be safe, give me just a minute. And I'll write your channel on this old picture, poorly drawn picture. Wow, you can see the back too of these pentagrams with the 4 sacred god names and the hexagram in the middle. Well, it would technically be above and below, but all right. Aaron, 11. Elizabeth, 11. Thank you. You have non-physical bodies that correspond to your consciousness. Thank you for your thank you. The etheric body, the aura, toroidal field, the spirit, the soul. Yeah, it gets like the classifications of all that stuff. I get confused because different people have like different terminologies, but I think I have like a general understanding of it, how it all kind of like fits together. But planetary spheres are also part of us. Yes. The chakras correspond to organs and glands in the physical body. It's just mind-boggling that most people are not interested in these things. Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, it seems like there's so many people that are just not interested in learning at all. Like, it's like they're so stuck in their ways, or I don't know. It's like this the spirit of mystery, the spirit of like wanting to know things, like is just not there. The inner child is just so suppressed that, you know, they're gonna attach to to other things that are not feeding their soul, which are literally just kind of dragging them down and making them a literal human resource in this matrix, you know? It's just crazy. Right? Chakras and planets too. Exactly. Why don't people want to learn everything about the universe and our cosmic origins? Exactly. Programming. Programming indeed, brother. So yeah, I don't, if there's anything in particular you guys want to ask questions about or you want me to talk about real quick before I jump off of here, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna end this video here shortly, and I feel glad that we got this talk in today. This has been freaking awesome. I always appreciate it when I end up going live. Indeed, indeed. Do as thou wilt. Shall be of the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. That's how it goes, right? Yeah, I think it seems like there's only a certain number of souls that are actually like genuine souls almost. And then it seems like everybody else is kind of an NPC. I'm sure you've all heard that analogy before. I've been gaming a lot recently too. Honestly, Elden Ring, like playing through that game is what enabled me to channel so much anger and frustration, because I've been dealing with those sorts of emotions so much the past year, like year and a half, 2 years, more than I ever thought I would. Like more Qliphothic type energies than I've ever encountered in my whole, life this time around. So really, once you realize that like Lucifer, which I don't really see as Lucifer as the devil, he's much more exalted than that. But once you realize that that Dark Lord is like, it's within you, like it's not something that's outside of yourself. There's no devil to really be scared of. It's like, damn, I was the devil the whole fucking time. That's when you've like come to the true understanding of darkness, I feel like. I don't know, that's kind of what I felt like these past 6 months though, for sure. Have you still been studying Qliphoth? Not a lot. A little bit here and there. Especially if I watch like Jeremiah's content over on Universal Mastery. He's always like, that's kind of like his expertise. He's good at everything he talks about, but he's really kind of well versed in the Qliphoth. So, but I'm not somebody who's like, I'm not initiating through that system. So I can only tell you what I know through book knowledge and through what I've experienced. I feel like I've definitely dealt with some of those fears within my own life, their influences. And I've also worked with Lilith a little bit, just a little bit, but I have had some interesting experiences there. And Lucifer's energies, I think, has always been around. I think it's always been around, and it's been kind of pushing me and guiding me and bringing me the proper catalysts when needed. But it's not an energy that I'm like consciously working with, like in ritual or anything like that. So I'm very aware of these energies and how they operate and how they kind of work, but I'm not like intimately working with them on a regular basis, like not at all. I'm much more well versed with the angelic energies. I know a lot more about angels. And I think with a lot of the stuff I'm working through right now, Lilith could help too, but I've been working more with angelic energies just for kind of like healing and things of that nature. Finding other like-minded individuals is such a blessing. Yes, it is indeed. I'm really glad to have you on here. I'm really excited to look up your stuff, Aaron. I really am. I want to see what you have on your channel. Very excited for that. Yep, but it really feels like that. I'm not left-hand pather or anything like that, but Lucifer intrigues me a lot for some reason. Well, same. I mean, he's, according to the lore, he's the oldest of the archangels. He's the angel of music. I don't know if he'd be considered an archangel technically, but he was the most beautiful angel, the most powerful angel. literally only second to God. I think he's the ultimate, like, God uses Lucifer to do the hardest work, is what I think it is. Like, he's portrayed as this bad guy, but really he's just like kind of like the Dark Knight, like doing what he has to do in the background, and obviously taking on, you know, being seen as the bad guy, but really he's just doing the necessary work in the background. If you look up Wisdom of the Voice of the Ages, there's a guy who does like audiobooks on there, and there's one that he does of Lucifer, about Lucifer, and it's really, really good. So Giving Wisdom to the Voice of the Ages, I think, and then type in Lucifer, and there's some really interesting content there. I mean enthrall, not intrigue. I've been on the front lines battling demons my entire life. I never could make sense of anything happening to me, but it all makes sense now. The Book of Mary Magdalene. My book was How to Escape the Material World and Ascend. Very interesting. The channel's name, Giving Wisdom to the Voice of the Ages, I think is what it's called. And it's this guy who did a whole bunch of audiobooks. Like, he did The Law of One, and he passed away, unfortunately. I mean, I should say he passed on. He's always with us. But I think that's the channel it is. And if you just type in Lucifer after that, like Giving Wisdom to the Voice of the Ages, and then Lucifer, it should come up. Going back to what Aaron said real quick. I've been on the front lines battling demons my entire life. And see, something that Jeremiah taught me, I highly recommend you look up a channel called Universal Mastery as well. Something that Jeremiah has taught is that these demons are, they're not necessarily our enemies, and we're not trying to fight them. They do represent the breaking down components of reality, so they're going to represent those more negative aspects of creation, the aspects that break stuff down. Breaks things down. But at the end of the day, those forces are really just trying to show us things that we're resisting within our own selves. So it's really, if we can kind of use the demons more to, rather than trying to fight or attack or have to banish them, see them for what they are, appreciate them, and love those aspects that they are reflecting externally, that are really representing something within. We have to come to terms with what are they representing within us that we are not coming to terms with. And we kind of have to like let go and let the universe, you know, kind of just display a little bit more of that letting go aspect of things. The more feminine, the more receptive energies, kind of letting ourselves flow into those energies a little bit more, rather than always just trying to push them away or repress them. See what these shadow things, these demons, are trying to quote unquote teach us. And remembering that all the angels and all the demons, they live within each and every one of us. We all have the tree of life and the tree of death within each and every one of us. So I hope that maybe that gives a little like different perspective, or a different way of looking at it. The demons aren't necessarily trying to destroy us or cause havoc necessarily, although they can. But they're at the end of the day, they're trying to show us something. There's a quote in a book I really recommend. It is somewhere. Let me try and find it. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this book, The Secret History of the Illustrated Secret History of the World by Mark Booth. It's an incredible book. This is a hardback version, and it's got lots of pictures in it. There's a quote somewhere in here where it says, I didn't realize that the demons that were like scratching at me and tormenting me and pulling me limb from limb, I didn't realize that they were really just angels trying to show me towards my higher self or my true purpose. That's not exactly how the quote goes, but I thought that was a really powerful message that was imbued in that. But it all makes sense now. The Book of Mary Magdalene, is that the Book of Mary Magdalene, is that like a Gnostic text, or is that a Dead Sea Scrolls text? I've heard there's a lot of I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of, I was thinking of the other Mary. Mary Magdalene is the Jesus's true consort and or partner. And there's a lot of, I've looked up a lot of Mary Magdalene like healing videos. There's some really beautiful sounds and tones that I've gone to sleep with many times that are Mary Magdalene specific tones. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, I watched Jared's content. Yeah, I thought you did. He comes very much from the law of one perspective. Yeah, most definitely. The more negatively polarized perspective for sure. And I resonate with a lot of the negative polarity stuff. I really do. Like I see my own views and perspectives like really resonating with a lot of what the quote unquote left-hand path or the negative polarity has to say. But I don't think that at the end of the day, I don't think I honestly resonate more towards the negative. I think that there are aspects of me which are definitely more physical or carnal in certain degrees, but I wouldn't say that I set really strict boundaries sometimes because I have to, but I wouldn't really say that makes me like a more negatively polarized being. There are just certain aspects of myself which are very much more negatively polarized, or more polarized of service of self, like learning this stuff, rather than just trying to sacrifice myself as the positive polarity one. So you kind of have to, there's a lot to that goes into the whole positive and negative polarity thing, but I've always kind of considered myself more of a middle pather. But at the end of the day, according to like the law of one, you are technically polarizing towards one or the other a little bit more than the other. So you're definitely, as a physical being, you are moving towards one or the other more so than the other to some degree. Aaron Elizabeth says, yes, it's all for learning. I've had very many near-death experiences, and each one opened me up more to learn what I need to navigate Earth. That's awesome. Okay, and it is a Gnostic text. Thank you very much. Yeah, I could say I've had a couple definitely like near-death experiences for sure, which really kind of gave me a lot, not only perspective in life, but just really like appreciation for being alive. Now I didn't have like any visions or anything like that when I had like near-death experiences. It was more just like scary experiences where I'm like, really don't know if I'm going to survive this or not, but I did, and then I gained perspective from that. So those are always neat to have. Middle pillar, brother. Yep, the royal path up the middle of the tree. But as we know, it's never a straightforward path. There's always going to be moving back and forth. They call it the serpent's path, where you kind of go back and forth through each Sephiroth. Sometimes in life, you're going to be dealing more with Gabura. You're going to be dealing more with severity. Other times, you're going to be dealing more with Hesed, with the merciful aspects of self. So it kind of goes back and forth. It's not a straightforward path. It's a serpentine path. For all you serpents out there, fellow serpent people. The middle pillar meditation is so powerful. Yes, indeed it is. Very true. I've been doing the middle pillar for quite a few years, and I do have an advanced version of the middle pillar, which I do. And I explain that. I believe I have a video called the Advanced Kabbalistic Cross and Middle Pillar Ritual. It's an older video I did. But essentially, what I do is, instead of just you vibrate A, Hey, Yay, and then the Metatron, but before moving down to the next sphere of light at Da'at, I will also envision from Kether going down to Hokmah and seeing Archangel Raziel, and then also Archangel Zophkael, and then move the energy down into Da'at, and then vibrate that next one. And then I'll also activate on my left shoulder, because the left brain hemisphere is the masculine pillar, the right brain hemisphere is the feminine pillar, from what I understand anyways, in my research is what I've come to see. Then Zophkael is the archangel for Hesed. Kamael is the archangel for Gebura, and then moving down to Tippereth, and then you vibrate, what is it, the Yod He Vav He Eloav Da'at? Is that the heart chakra, solar plexus part of the middle pillar? But anyway, I do that going all the way down with each archangel, so definitely check out that video if you would like to go and do that. That's the pathway you're supposed to take. That's what the middle pillar knowledge is about. Anchor to Parith. All roads lead to the heart. The 11-fold path. That's something I've had to like reconnect with so much lately, is my heart energy center, because I feel like it's just been so hurt and stuff, you know, over the past, you know, while. There's definitely a damaged kind of inner child in there, and a definitely wanting to open up the heart more and not be so in this state of like wanting to control or wanting to dominate like things, because that's kind of been something I guess I've dealt with. I've never been like a controlling person, but there are certain aspects of my life that I want control over, and at least to a certain degree, like at least have it to where it's somewhat predictable, like, because you can't just have it being total chaos all the time, which is kind of what I dealt with there for a while. The 11-fold path. It would really make sense that the pillars are reversed. Why would mercy be left pillar and severity right? Put your body on the tree of life facing outwards. So yeah, for me, I mean, if I'm working with the front of the tree, this one should be on the left. I would think the white pillar should be on the left if you're working with it. And then the black pillar is the right brain hemisphere. It needs to be right here on the right. That's how I've always worked with the pillars. I feel like if the black one were on the left and the left one were on my right, or I'm sorry, if the black one were on my left and the white one was on my right, I feel like that wouldn't be correct. But that's just how I've come to do it. Let me know what you guys think, though. So if you are facing like King Solomon's temple and you're looking directly at the temple and you're going into the temple through the front door, I would see it as the white pillar being on the left, black pillar being on the right. If you're looking from inside the temple looking outwards, so if you're looking outside the temple, the black pillar would be on the left and then the white pillar would be on the right, correct? So masculine activity is Mars or Gebura. Hesed or mercy is on the feminine left. Huh. Yeah, I know that this is like a more masculine energy, but it's the feminine pillar. But remember, the masculine resides within the feminine, and the feminine energies reside within the masculine. So they're kind of like, you know, work together. However, the pillar of severity in Mars is divine feminine. Yeah. So for me, I don't know if this is how it is for you guys. If you are closing your eyes and you are visualizing working with the middle, but why is the feminine pillar on the right side? For me, it's because the right brain hemisphere. Like if I'm here and I'm doing my meditation, the black pillar is going to be on the right because that's this brain hemisphere, and that's why the left brain is most people right-handed. But the right hand is connected to the left brain hemisphere. The left hand is connected to the right brain hemisphere, from what I understand. But yeah, the white pillar is going to be on the left from your perspective looking out, and then the black pillar is going to be on the right. I believe that's how Jeremiah does it, and that's how I was intuitively drawn to do it myself, because I knew that the left brain hemisphere was the more intellectual brain hemisphere. Pillar of mercy and Jupiter's divine masculine. Look at the sigil of the yin yang. Inside of the black is white and vice versa. Baphomet. So yeah, everybody, unless you got any like last minute questions or anything, I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of here. We've gone for almost 2 hours in this chat, so that is freaking awesome. We've got 6 thumbs up in here, and we only have 3 people that are still in the chat, so that means all of you have probably given a thumbs up. If you have not, be sure to do that, just because it helps, you know, spread the videos and the channel's message and all that. So yeah, without further ado, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the video there. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning in. If you happen to be new to this channel, which I don't think there's anybody new in here, but in case you are, what I do on here is I talk about different esoteric research subjects: Kabbalah, Freemasonry, the Tree of Life, the Tree of Death, ceremonial magic, you name it. We talk about all those different things in this group chat. Be sure to go and check out my Patreon as well. I have a Patreon called Occult Perspectives. It should be in the description of most of my videos. If not, it's in the description of the YouTube channel. And I have a book called Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic, where I talk about the nuances and the differences between the two. What is, you know, Freemasonry is not exactly ceremonial magic, and ceremonial magic's not really Freemasonry, but they do have a lot of similarities. So the book talks about the similarities between those two things. I also have an instructional video on the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram as well. So definitely go and check that out. You can get most of that stuff for $5. You know, so it's not too bad of a deal. If you want the full $10 tier, it's $10 a month, and then you can just cancel it whenever you want to. So be sure to go and check that out as well. Thanks for the live. These are very nice. Thumbs up, people. It costs nothing. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Even if you see this later. Y'all have a great day. You as well, Aaron. Thank you. Ipsissimus gives a green heart. And Illusion of the Abyss, thank you for being a part of this chat. And you helped clarify a lot of questions I probably would not have even been able to answer myself. So, alrighty, everyone, take care, and until next time, peace and blessings.